Grand Rising family. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad to see everybody. Check in. Let us know where you're hailing from, family. Thank you so much for being here. I apologize for my tardiness. Today is Tuesday, February the 4th, 2025, and the time is 1:31 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check in, family. Let us know where you're hailing from. I'm so glad to see everybody here. This is our second podcast for the day. So, Grand Rising, Joyous Rising, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. It depends upon where you're hailing from. We have some good news today, family. I'm in such a good mood. But first, check in. Let us know where you're hailing from. I hope you enjoyed the video that I did a little earlier today. This morning, we talked about elegance and grace, the importance of exuding feminine qualities that attract juicy men and high vibrational people. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that. It's not for everybody, but elegance is a characteristic and a trait or quality that men love, darling. And actually, women love elegant and graceful qualities, and children do as well. So, I hope you enjoyed that podcast today, and I appreciate you all for joining me. I thought I'd come on and talk to you about something different, but let me show you these red gloves that I have. I love these gloves. Okay. I haven't gone over this in my recent podcast, but I have before. Speaking of elegance, refined, sophisticated ladies dress differently from everyone else, darling. We separate ourselves from the rest of the crowd. As such, we draw juicy, divine, masculine, strong provider and protector men. Men that will just do it because you're soft, because you're graceful, because you're sweet, feminine, fit, pleasant, and easy to get along with. Men are actually inspired by femininity, by softness, by grace, by sophistication, by beauty. We inspire them to go out and do the grunt work. So I know people love talking about the matriarchy and they want the matriarchy to be restored. And they want to talk about parthenogenesis and how back in the day, women used to be able to procreate by themselves or give birth and make babies without the men. But darling, I can survive and thrive in the middle of patriarchy and a matriarchy. So it doesn't matter to me. Patriarchy, as a matter of fact, is a system, it's an ideology, it's a philosophy, it's a way of existing that the elites have put in our programming that really doesn't have much to do with men. It has more to do with the class or class of males that are at the top, and by therefore suppressing women. But we have patriarchy and matriarchy actually existing together in thriving societies. That is when the male, the masculine expression, and the feminine come together in a balanced way. See, we know what they say about what used to happen. I studied anthropology. I studied relics in my bachelor's degree with my social science degree when I studied anthropology, sociology, psychology, and economics, as well as political science. I created my own program, my own discipline. And in anthropology, we learned about the feminine expression of God and how these energies or these beings came from the mountains, the Caucasus Mountains, and these beings were Aryans or archons. They had this like draconian energy, and they decimated the female gods. They took the women, they raped them, and they suppressed them, and they put them on an island all by themselves because they didn't like women. And that's how we came up with Lesbos Islands and lesbians, because the women had to fend for themselves and learn how to thrive and do things by themselves. So that was a long time ago. And while it was beautiful, and I studied about matriarchy and matrilineal societies and how the wealth was passed down through the woman, we now know that we live in a world where we have men that are leading and providing and protecting. And my darling, when you are feminine and you are soft and grace and elegant, it doesn't matter if you have a matriarchy or a patriarchy, you will learn how to survive and thrive because you will exude such a juicy feminine energy that the men will come running to your aid. I am a witness. Now, while you're checking in, I'm talking about elegance and grace before we go into the podcast for today, because that's what I talked about earlier today. A couple of days ago, I went to my son's celebration at his job. It was a recognition of all of the people on his job. He is into wealth and investments, as well as, what do you call it? Insurance. He sells insurance. I'm going to have him on my podcast one day to talk about all the wonderful things he does so he can present those to the Soul family. But I went to this recognition wearing a beautiful bodycon gray dress. It fit my curves, but it wasn't too revealing. It wasn't tight. It wasn't snug. It just kind of hung on my curves. It was below the knee because when you're graceful and elegant, you don't want to show too much. And I had my hair curly, and of course I had my jewels and my earrings, because feminine, elegant ladies adoring themselves. But I had on the red gloves because elegant, graceful ladies protect their skin, and they also set themselves apart from the rest of the world. So women don't wear gloves today typically. So when you want to set yourself apart, you do things that are feminine. Well, I walked into this dining hall full of beautiful families, men and women from all different ethnicities and races. And as I walked into the building, the men rushed up to me and they said, "Oh my gosh, you're so elegant. Oh my gosh, you're so graceful. You're so beautiful." The owner of the company came up to me and said, "I know that there's water already on the tables and we have juice and tea and coffee, but please let me pour you something. We also have liquor over here. We have this over there and that, and we have food over there. Let me pour something for you. Oh, please let me serve you." Other men rushed to pull out a chair. Men came around me and asked, how can they be of assistance? I had never seen these people before. The women walked up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, that's so classy. I never thought of wearing gloves. It's so beautiful. I never thought of wearing gold and silver. I love the flower." Ladies, the world may tell you that you're equal to a man, but darling, I don't want to be equal. I want to be feminine. I am feminine, classy, elegant, regal, and soft. I am the essence of God, the feminine expression of God. And that is what goddess is, God essence. Okay, when they say show up casual, don't. I show up looking like the feminine goddess that I am, and I am treated as such. Okay, this isn't about bragging. I'm telling you, usually when I come on and we talk about family, like I did yesterday, thank you all who joined us also yesterday, as we talked about how we're going to an era where the women and the ladies are going to need to depend on the men that we claim to detest and despise. We're moving to an era where President Trump, the alliance, and all of the people that are here to serve us, the Grand Army of the Republic, they're removing the shackles and they're removing the obstacles that were in the way to preserve and protect the family. They're getting rid of diversion, equity, inclusion programs, DEI programs. They're removing all of these programs that catered to the woman and made it easier for us to just leave our husbands. Now, there are times when you have to leave if somebody's abusing you, or maybe their goals don't align with you. If if you're not patient and you don't know how to work with, sometimes you're just like, look, this relationship isn't working out. We're not judging those situations. But this whole no fault divorce and just leaving because you're bored, or leaving because, he's not sexing you the way you want him to, that might be good for you, but what's in the best interest of the children? And that's what we discussed yesterday. So now the government is removing those incentives, such as AFDC, welfare, food stamps, Section 8 programs that were designed to help people that were in trouble for a temporary moment. But what happened is that what they saw is we became lazy and we depended upon the government as our zaddy or our daddy or our sugar daddy in the stead of our husbands, our men, our provider, protector. And that could be your husband through a marriage certificate or through your own rites and rituals in your own community. Some of you practice common law marriage, which is the way we used to do it tribally anyway before the government was overtaken. Some of you jump the broom, or you sign a contract in your Bible, or you do it in a mosque. However you do it, that marriage was for the sanctity of bringing in children in a secure household, and so that you can establish values and principles for your child and build generational wealth. Because healthy, strong societies are built upon healthy, strong communities, and healthy, strong communities are built upon healthy, strong families. And that is contingent upon you being healthy. So the man has a role and the woman has a role. And I love my role, darlings. I love the fact that men rush to cater to me. When you learn how to be joyful, girly, joyful, play. Remember how you used to giggle? Joyful and genuinely happy, coming from an abundance mentality, knowing that there's more than enough in the world. There's more than enough beautiful, amazing, strong provider, protector men. There's more than enough money. There's more than enough gold. There's more than enough food and resources. When you come from that type of mentality, that is what the world will present to you, because whatever you think about and focus on is what will manifest. And that is what will multiply, my darlings. So let that exude from you, an abundance mentality. Know that there's more than enough. Know that you're worthy, and present yourself like you're worthy. Act like it, think like it, and behave like a lady. So having said that, family, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you so much for being here, and so much for joining my podcast on yesterday about families. We had Chief Mac to join us, and we also had Sharif Ali, who is a Grand Sheikh of the Moors from Moors of America, to talk to us about what it means to have male and female roles in the family, how to establish a family, how to build generational wealth. Because again, you may not have a healthy society unless you have healthy communities, and the communities are built on family. So this is what President Donald Trump is doing. He is doing a marvelous job of restoring the family. Initially, it might seem like he's being some rogue tyrant that's just signing off on a whole bunch of executive orders, just, rushing off with the pen. But the man knows what he's doing. He's using the pen to create executive orders to restore the family and to restore the republic. The republic is our lawful government that we had here before the bloodline families came and usurped authority from our government and created themselves as a corporation in the state of Delaware. In fact, they created themselves as a nonprofit religious organization in 1871, and they created their own constitution called the United States Constitution, or the Constitution of the United States of America. That is what they did over here. And it was run by the Pope and also the British Crown. That's why we paid taxes to the British Crown. We're going to talk about taxes in a few minutes. That's why the lawyers and judges passed a bar exam, British accredited registry, because they were working for the British Crown. Now in this new golden era, they may not operate in the same capacity. They must all step down and be retrained in constitutional law. Why? Because they work for the British Crown. They passed the British accredited registry. The money went to the tax, and all the taxes went to the crown and to the Pope. Over here, we have the lawful republic, our government of this land called Turtle Island, Amorica, America, Northgate, Northwest Africa, and there are many other names for her. Some people even call her Tartaria. Okay, she has a constitution for the republic, and it's always been standing and it's been working side by side together. And some people were still operating under the republic. They didn't pay taxes to the IRS. They didn't pay taxes. They didn't get licenses, marriage license, driver license, none of that. And people thought they were being rogue But no, they just understood and understood that they were sovereign. They had supreme rule and control over their own lives. Sovereign. Sov means over, reign means rule and control. We are sovereign, and Trump is returning us back to our sovereignty. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sovereignty is where we're going now because we've always been sovereign by birthright. That is your birthright because the Most High created us to have sovereign. And speaking of the Most High and universal laws, it's not about male or female. I told you patriarchy, it was a system. It wasn't just that there were male and female roles. It was a system, the one that we saw operating, that said men had to rule control completely over women and women had no power. Look it up. But what's healthy is that men have their roles, women have their roles, and we work together to solidify the family, because there's a universal principle that says you must have both female and male energy, and female and males, period, working together to balance each other. So there are roles, family, and we operate and stand in them in our sovereignty, but we know how to relate with one another, okay? I have my own thoughts about equality. I don't believe that women are equal in strength to men, okay? And that's why we had roles like taking care of the children, taking care of the family, the home, etc. Some women, of course, work outside the home. But listen to my podcast from yesterday to get more information on that if you're interested, and more information on how to be elegant, refined, sophisticated, and graceful in my podcast from earlier today. But let's talk about how President Donald Trump is restoring our sovereignty. We've had breaking news, family, that I would like to bring to you today. Keep checking in. I see you all hailing from all over the world. All right. So President Trump on yesterday, February the 3rd, signed executive orders on created executive action to create what he calls a sovereign wealth fund. Do you see the word sovereign? Reign, rule, and control of your own life. That's beautiful. What was this sovereign wealth fund that he created? Okay. We're again moving to a republic versus a corporate government where these bloodline families govern, ruled, and managed your mind, your menche. Govern, rule, control, manage, meant the mind. Now we're moving to sovereignty, where you'll be operating like royalty. So if you want to learn more about royalty, then look at my video where I interviewed the Sheikh Asir, the Duke of Tears, a couple of days. Well, actually, it was last Thursday. Powerful, powerful interview where he dropped a lot of gems. So let's look at this new exciting executive order. Again, President Trump is using the tool of the deep state against them, the tool of the United States Incorporated against them to destroy them. He has said on many occasions, I will totally obliterate the deep state. He has also said he's returning us to the golden age. How is he doing that? By using their own tools and devices against them, because he is the commander in chief and CEO of the United States Incorporated. He was the 45th, and now he's the 47th president of the United States Incorporated. Will he be the president of the republic? We don't know, because we haven't had any selections or elections for the republic that we know of. And that lawful inauguration for the republic is actually March the 4th. So let's talk about how President Trump signed an executive order or executive action to create a sovereign wealth fund. This was updated on today, but he made that announcement on yesterday. President Donald Trump signed an executive action that he said would direct officials to create a sovereign wealth fund for the United States, following through on an idea that he floated during his presidential campaign. He's made a lot of promises. He promised that he would downsize the government. He promised that he would bring wealth into America. He promised that he would do away with the Internal Revenue Service and create an External Revenue Service and tax governments and corporations or countries that were doing business with us instead of taxing the people. And he's made so many more promises like protecting our border, and he's been keeping those promises. President Trump said, "We as a nation have tremendous potential." This is what he told reporters in the Oval Office on yesterday, Monday. The president said the action would change or charge the Treasury Secretary, the new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and Howard Lutnick, the nominee for Commerce Secretary, was spearheading this effort that he calls the Sovereign Wealth Fund. As you read the details of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, it really sounds like Nassar and Jassar. I can't wait till we get into this. Bessent, who joined Trump at the Oval Office, said that the fund would be created in the next 12 months, calling it an issue of great strategic importance. President Trump has been very strategic, and I'm going to show you how this has been in the making behind the scenes a long time, okay? They've been setting certain things in order for him to create this executive action. He suggested that this fund could be used to facilitate the sale of TikTok, which is currently operating in the United States, thanks to an extension that he signed prolonging the deadline for a forced sale or shutdown. They also said that the United States government could leverage its size and scale given the business that it does with companies, citing drug makers as an example. Now, this last part that I want to bring up today kind of upset people and ruffled their feathers, because one of the people made a statement, and I'll quote them: "If you're going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, then maybe you should have some warrants and some equity in those companies," he said. And I think when he said that, he wasn't saying we're going to invest now in those vaccines, but the way I interpreted it was, since you guys said that's what you were doing, you wanted to buy vaccines, why wouldn't you just invest in an equity in those companies? But I'm keeping my eye on that, okay? Because I don't care if they do invest in vaccines. Mama Key is not taking them because I'm sovereign. I have rule, reign, and control of my own life. And keep in mind and remember that a mandate is not a law. It only becomes enforceable and law for you, mandate, when you comply. So let's look at that and also look at the other beautiful things that they're talking about when they talk about this sovereign fund. Trump advisors have previously discussed plans to use the United States International Development Finance Corporation to partner with major institutional players to leverage United States economic powers. So that is about him signing the executive order, but what exactly is this order? Well, let's look at Wikipedia and see what Wikipedia has to say about a sovereign wealth fund. Keep chiming in, family. I will acknowledge you and look at some of your questions in a few minutes. A sovereign wealth fund or sovereign investment fund is a state-owned investment fund that invests in real and financial assets, such as stocks, bonds, real estate, precious metals, or in alternative investments, such as private equity funds or hedge funds. Sovereign wealth funds invest globally. This is the way President Trump intends to make us great again or wealthy again. Most sovereign wealth funds are funded by revenues from commodity exports or from foreign exchange reserves. What are foreign exchange reserves? We'll talk about that in a minute. Most sovereign wealth funds are funded by revenues from commodity exports or from foreign exchange reserves held by the central bank. Some sovereign wealth funds may be held by a central bank, which accumulates those funds in the course of its management of a nation's banking system. This type of fund is usually of major economic and fiscal importance. Other sovereign wealth funds are simply the state savings that are invested by various entities for investment returns and that may not have a significant role in financial management. The accumulated funds may have their origin in or may represent foreign currency deposits. This fund is filled with gold, special drawing rights or SDRs, and international monetary funds, and foreign currency deposits or foreign reserves. Keep that in mind. It also includes national assets such as pension investments, oil funds, other industrial and financial holdings. These are assets of the sovereign nations that are typically held in domestic and different reserve currencies, such as the dollar, euro, pound, and yen. These such investment management entities may be set up as official investment companies, state pension funds, or sovereign funds, among others. They have been attempts to distinguish funds held by sovereign entities like sovereign governments, sovereign states from foreign exchange reserves. Let's just break it down. What are foreign exchange reserves? Foreign assets, foreign exchange reserves are none other than foreign currencies. Your Iraqi dinar. What else is made of Iraqi dinar? Foreign reserves are made up of Venezuela bolivar. They talked about bonds, Zim bonds. What else? Indonesian rupiah, Indian rupee, gold, silver, and other assets. These are held by the central banks. Now, I talked about why central banks need to hold gold and foreign reserves or foreign assets, but I'll get it back to you on that in a minute. Sovereign wealth funds can be characterized as maximizing long-term reserves with or returns with foreign exchange reserve serving short-term currency stabilization and liquidity management. Many central banks in recent years possess reserves massively in excess of needs for liquidity or foreign exchange management. Moreover, it is widely believed most have diversified hugely into assets other than short-term, high liquid monetary ones, though almost no data is publicly available to back up this assertion. So I will leave this in the description section for you in a minute, and I will talk about more in a minute so that you can read up on it. And this can be something that you can use just to start your search as you look into and delve into what this is all about and how these are going to be used for the wealth of the nation. In an article entitled "Who Holds the Wealth of Nations" in the Central Bank Journal, the term sovereign wealth firm was first used in 2005. The previous edition of the journal described the shift from traditional reserve management to sovereign wealth management. Okay. It goes on to talk about China's sovereign wealth management and more about sovereign wealth management. So what are these funds that they're talking about? Thank you so much for the, somebody's asked me a question. Yes, I will send you the link, sister. So when you think about how this sovereign wealth management fund is comprised of different type of assets, you saw them talk about gold, bonds, stocks, and foreign reserve or foreign assets. So first, let's say that when President Trump was signing these executive orders, we knew that he was just exemplifying the process that had already been in place a while ago. They had already created this system. They had already created this sovereign monetary fund before he signed his executive order. And I will just show you how we know that. And then we'll talk about what's in this fund. Let me see if I can bring something for you. It is the hidden wealth bar on the US debt clock. Let me show you that. Somebody, are you guys asking me if I smoke pot? I don't know who you're talking about. No, I don't smoke. I don't smoke anything, darling. I'm high on life. Let's see if I can find, where was that? Thank you for being in the chat, family. I have so many different links here. Let's see if this one is it. Nope. Oh, that's my page. That's not it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video, family. That's not the right one. You know what? I don't see you guys. Let me know if you can still see me in the chat, family, because I don't see you. Oh, I think, let's see, I'm going to stop sharing this. Oh, I can't see the people. Wow, they took me out the chat. Oh my goodness. Somehow, somehow I got removed. I'm sorry, family. I hear an echo. Mm. Has so much good information. All right, here we are. I know you can hear me clicking. I'm trying to figure out why there's an echo. This is wild. I'm sorry, fam. Mm. Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me? I'm back. I don't know. I was having trouble. I apologize for that. So thank you for being here, family. Thank you for being in the chat. I think I lost my place. Let me see where we were. This is wild. I was going to show you the hidden wealth bar on the United States debt clock. So let me show you this. Minutes. Hold on. I was going to show you how they had already shown us the wealth and the hidden wealth bar on the United States debt clock. Here you go. I can bring that screen up for you now. Right here. Can you see that? Precious metals reserve. You can see how much right here, the precious metals reserve. It looks like, is that 1,205,853,460? This is precious metals. This is the asset back. This says hidden wealth asset based currency. You can see all of the precious metals. They say we have mineral reserves of 5,627,316. No, 5,627,316,149,343. Real estate assets 74,360,963,400,099. With land reserves of the assets. Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing. 24,182,386,273,315. You can see stock market. And this is all in gold here, okay? 50 trillion. Let's see, recaptured assets, 7 trillion, new energy, 3,900,000,000,000, and total hidden wealth that we have in this country, 166,978. Excuse me, 166,978,799,000,000 412,583. And this doesn't even talk about the rare earth minerals that was discovered in Wyoming last year in the amount of 2.34 billion metric tons. So there's a lot of wealth that we have here in America. So you saw that this sovereign wealth fund is comprised of all of these assets. One of the things that they mentioned is gold, and we'll go on to talk about the foreign reserves. What's going on with gold? Have you guys looked at the gold prices lately? Go to goldprice.org, and you'll see that gold reached a new all-time high. We're just parlaying into what's going on with gold now. The gold price is $2,843 per ounce, but we have lots of gold. So what's happening is it's a basic economic principle that as the dollar loses value, and I showed you an article the other day that said the dollar was decreasing in value, gold and silver increase in value. If you all remember, the Q movement and people with a high military clearance were saying that we have gold and gold will destroy the Fed. Banks have been accruing gold in records amounts between 2022 and 2024, record numbers. They've been hoarding gold. The country has been hoarding gold. We've repatriated gold. You saw that we're talking about assets that we restored back to us. We repatriated gold to us or to our country back from the Vatican. So as we have been acquiring gold, we've been doing that for this sovereign monetary fund and to pay off the debt. Also, we have gold stored in the banks because banks now have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, meaning now banks have to recognize gold as money. No longer can they recognize gold as a commodity or as a collector's item, a collectible. They have to now recognize gold as money. And banks have to, another part of Basel III compliancy, they have to be prepared to receive your tier 2 assets, which are your foreign reserve currencies. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But speaking of gold, I just wanted to show you that the gold prices are now high. Gold just reached a new all-time high. If I need to slow down, just tell me and I will. I got kind of thrown off when I came off of the podcast when my video just disappeared. Gold is at $2,843. Silver is now at $32 per ounce. Okay. If you look up when did gold reach an all-time high, you'll see, let me see. You'll see an article that says gold hovers. This one says gold hovers near all-time highs as tariff confusion sparks market disruptions. But there's another article, gold reached an all-time high. Let me see. When did gold reach an all-time high? Gold actually reached the new all-time high today, February the 4th, the day after Trump announced this sovereign monetary fund. And, coming off the heels of him signing all these executive orders to get rid of illegal immigrants, illegal migrants, and make sure we make America great again and make sure the businesses stay at home and that the businesses and companies are run by actual Americans. This is also coming off the heels of February the 1st, when the tariffs against China, Canada, and Mexico went into effect. That was February the 1st. So when did gold reach an all-time high? Let me show you just a minute. You'll see this article that says gold reached an all-time high or regained an all-time high on Tuesday, today, February the 4th, driven by investors seeking a safe haven asset after China retaliated with tariffs against the United States in response to President Donald Trump's tariffs. The spot gained 0.9% to $2,837 per ounce at about 10:39 a.m. So gold was 2,837 this morning, and now it's 2,843. So it breached the all-time high. The country is doing very well, my darlings, very well. President Trump is keeping his promise. So let's look at what foreign reserves are, because this sovereign monetary fund is comprised of gold, stocks, bonds, and foreign reserve assets. If you recall, I did a very detailed video, I want to say like 2 weeks ago, on foreign reserve assets, where I talked about banks becoming sovereign, how now banks can operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system. And in that podcast, I talked about how the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that now state-sponsored banks can be sovereign. They can make their own rules, their own laws, and they can operate separately from the Federal Reserve, the fake government, and their central banking system, in that they can now have their own charter. They now can be regulated by the state and not anybody federal, not any government, no federal government. And they can issue out their own gold-backed currencies. That's what I said in the podcast that I did. But that's not it. That's not all I talked about in that podcast. I'm going to show you that podcast so that you can look it up for yourself, because it was really thorough. Here's the podcast. You go to Dr. Kia Pruitt on YouTube, this channel right here, at Dr. Kia Pruitt Official, because there are many that are created that are mimicking me, that are not owned by me, and YouTube will not get rid of them even when I reported them. So this is me on this channel. I have 9,630 subscribers. So you'll see this one here. Scroll down in the video section. You see video, shorts, live, and post. In the video section, you'll see it's called Great News for Currency Holders. I'm talking about how banks had to become Basel compliant. They had to store up gold, recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. They had to have foreign currencies. And the reason why they had to have those was to make sure or maintain the health of the bank, and also to ensure that the bank would not have any type of financial problems. The way the articles expressed it was holding these assets stave the banks against bankruptcy and maintain the financial health of the bank. In other words, in the podcast, I showed you articles that said that the banks need you, that they were preparing for currency exchanges. I also talked about how banks met globally to ensure that they were ready to receive tier 2 assets. And then other articles called the tier 2 assets foreign reserves, foreign currencies. And you see that this sovereign monetary fund is comprised of foreign currencies. So for anybody that thinks that this isn't real, I'm going to show you all the videos and all the articles so that you can look it up for yourself. Make sure you check this video out. When you click on the video, you'll see, that's what I look like here. And go to the description section and you'll see all the articles where I'm talking about how banks gear up for tier 2 capital issuance under Basel III guidelines, making sure that they were Basel III compliant. Now, when you click on this article, it's been scrubbed from the internet. Okay. The article that says banks met globally to ensure that they were ready for foreign currency exchanges to receive your tier 2 foreign reserves. It's been scrubbed from the internet. However, in this video, I bring up the article and I read it line by line. So you'll be able to see what the article looks like, and you'll be able to see that it was actually on the internet. It's crazy how they do that. So I want you to do that. Check it for yourself and you'll see that there's no article there. Now what comes up is something about amplifying your collective intelligence. So let's talk about how this monetary fund is comprised of foreign reserves. I took the liberty to look again at what foreign reserves are. They're foreign currencies, but I'll show you the article. I think I'm going to show you the article. Looks like what I'm going to have to do is go back to that video. And actually, yeah, I'm going to have to go back to that video and bring up the article that talks about what foreign reserves are. This is exciting news that President Trump created this sovereign monetary fund. Okay, let's see. Keep checking in, family. I see you commenting. And we'll answer questions in a few minutes. But I need to show you what foreign reserves are that are in this sovereign monetary fund. Let's see. What do you think about this so far? These hidden assets are assets that we've had all along, that President Trump is just bringing to the forefront. And wouldn't you know it, that my computer just froze? You can't make this up. So I'm not able to click on any of my articles. I hope you all can still see me. I'm just going to wait here. I hear noise. Can you all still see me and hear me? I'm not able to click back on the video to see you. Wow. I don't know what's going on. I'm not able to look on any articles. Is this better? Let me see. Let's see if it's working now. Nope. So I apologize, family. What the foreign reserves are, and I do have an article, maybe I can pull it up on my phone, are foreign currencies. It actually tells you that the foreign reserves are foreign currencies or currencies from other countries. These are what the banks are holding, and this is what's in the monetary fund, the sovereign monetary fund that President Donald Trump actually issued. Now, while we're on it, let me see if Somebody says, you're making an impact, Kia. It's already too late for them. Yeah, they just keep taking me down. I vanished from Rumble too. Wow, this is crazy, family. I just want to show you how we're wealthy, and as a nation, we're going to be okay. But speaking of how this fund will relieve the tax burden from the people, I want to show you what President Trump asked us today. Let's see if I can go to his page. President Trump actually asked us, should we get rid of the IRS? And we already know that he said he will. Remember when he said, I'm going to get rid of the Internal Revenue Services and create the External Revenue Services. And he explained that he's going to stop taxing the people and start taxing other countries that do business with us by putting tariffs on them. He was letting us know he was doing away with the IRS. Let me see if I can find where he asked, should we get rid of? I don't see it now. Trump asked, should we abolish the IRS? Okay, go to his X page, his Twitter page. No, I don't see it. Let's see if I can find him, Trump, on Twitter. Why the problems, y'all? On his Twitter page, he asked, should we get rid of the IRS? And now I'm having problems finding that. That's wild. I'll find it and I'll put it in the description section for you. This is wild. Like it just disappeared from my screen. I'll find it for you, family, and I'll put it back up. But I wanted you to see in writing how he asked, he said, I'm giving, he wanted to hear your thoughts. Should I get rid of the IRS? I believe that was his Twitter page. Keep checking in and let us know what you think so far, family. I don't see it. Oh, well, we're going to keep it moving. If I find it, when I find it, I'll bring it back up. Let's see. Let's look at Gold Telegraph because they've been giving out some really good tweets lately. That is a page on Twitter. Follow Gold Telegraph because they keep you abreast on what's going on with gold, and that will let you know what's going on globally and economically as it relates to economics, finances, BRICS as well. Because as you all know, most of the world, if not all exporting nations, have stopped trading with the dollar and started trading with their own local currencies backed by gold and silver, and they've decided to trade with gold. And they call the BRICS coalition Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, BRICS Plus now. So here is Gold Telegraph right here. When you look at it here, they say they're talking about global bullion banks are flying gold into the United States from trading hubs, including Dubai and Hong Kong. It says the West is feeling it. Welcome to the era of gold. Gold is at $2,840, which is a new record high. Gold is flowing into the United States, leading to a shortage in London and a 4 to 6 week delivery backing at the Bank of England. Meanwhile, the United States has announced plans to establish a wealth sovereign fund. All right. And then people are talking about that here. Gold Telegraph also says the United States says the country wants Ukraine's rare earth elements as a condition of further support. Again, this comes down to resources. So I'll leave that in the description section for you. But before I close out, let me show you this. Gold Telegraph here, it's reported on their Twitter account 22 hours ago about the United States Sovereign Wealth Fund. It says, the article says, we're going to monetize the asset side of the United States balance sheet for the American people. There'll be a combination of liquid assets that we have in this country, Scott Bessent, the United States Treasury Secretary said, and these are liquid assets. So again, I'll leave this in the description section for you to read. One more. In 1933, they said on their Twitter account, the United States revalued gold to alleviate the economy's debt burden, devaluing the dollar by 69% against gold. I told you that the dollar was being devalued. Okay. The dollar was devalued in 1933. This came as the nation emerged from the Great Depression, using inflation to erode the real value of debt. Today, with the United States debt surpassing 36 trillion, let's see if I'm gonna click on that. History suggests that some form of monetary reform is inevitable. The Federal Reserve even knows the trajectory of debt is unsustainable fiscally. The Department of Government Efficiency is the first step, in my view. Our medium is broken. So speaking about gold, again, you may want to make sure you follow Gold Telegraph on Twitter, and you also want to always look at the United States debt clock. See, this is Donald Trump's page. No, that's not what I was seeing if I could find that tweet he made when he asked, should we get rid of the IRS? Oh, well, let's look at the United States debt clock. You can look at the United States debt clock on Twitter, usdebtclock.org. You go to the United States debt clock. Let's see. And if you go to the right, you look up the secret window, and you'll see this, where it says a golden age of wonders. That was usdebtclock.org, or you can go on Twitter to usdebtclock. They've been talking about the golden age for some time. The US debt clock has been talking about it. President Trump has been talking about it to let us know we're moving to an era of gold where we'll be using currencies that are backed by gold, whether it be digital coins or digital assets or actual currency that's backed by gold, and we'll be using gold and silver as money. So now let me let you see the Twitter page here for the United States debt clock. You saw it was on a secret window today, but the first time they had it up was actually November the 10th, 2024. And then it also talks about how the migrant, the last slide they had talked about how the migrant crisis cost American taxpayers $451 billion a year. And they asked, should Mexico be reimbursing the United States for facilitating their crossings? And they always give you certain messages on their secret window part of the United States debt clock. One of the messages was, we're moving from debt to wealth, and this is a revolution. They had other messages about rescuing Medicare and Medicaid. There was another message where they talked about firing the Fed, or the Federal Reserve. So one of the things I wanted to show you before I got distracted, because I was removed from the stream and a lot of my tabs that I had up disappeared, was I wanted to show you how foreign reserve assets were your foreign currencies. So you can find that on the video that I did called Great News, Banks Are Ready for Currency Exchange. It's the one that I showed you. I'll put it in the description section for you. And you go to that description, and there's an article under there Let me see what it says. That says tier 2 definitions. What are tier 2 definitions and the 4 components? I just want you to stay encouraged, family, that President Trump is moving along to make America great again, to make America wealthy again. And you're going to be a part of the greatest wealth transfer in history, because some of you are right now buying depreciated assets. This is what people did during the Great Depression, and how they became wealthy in the late 1929 and 1930. They bought depreciated assets. Now we have depreciated assets such as foreign reserves that have been depreciated through war and sanctions. Gold had depreciated. Silver was a depreciated asset. Stocks that are declining. For some of you that want to get into stocks, you want to buy what they say, buy low, sell high. But I would caution you to be careful with the stock market, because it's going to collapse. And a great portion of the stock market, if not all of it, will disappear. Depreciated assets also include real estate. We talked about how the real estate market is taking a downturn as BlackRock, State Street, and some of these other large corporations have bought up the real estate market during the global pandemic, when people were losing their homes through foreclosures. They couldn't pay for their homes anymore, and now they needed a place to stay. So when these major companies bought up the land and bought up these apartment complexes and homes, they put up the rents so that the rent was not affordable for people. Well, people paid as much as they could, but now with the unemployment rate soaring and companies closing and banks closing, people are having a hard time paying their bills. So you have a high homelessness rate. Now, State Street, BlackRock, and these other companies are dumping the real estate back onto the market. Additionally, Evergrande, which was the largest real estate firm owned by China, they own land, farmland here, and real estate, complexes, homes all over America. They filed bankruptcy in America about a year and a half ago, and they were forced to liquidate their assets. So all of these houses and real estate in these apartment complexes are being dumped onto the market. In other words, the market is taking a downturn, and real estate is becoming a depreciated asset. So if you have liquid assets or liquid currency, money, you can actually buy real estate now, or you can wait it out, because the price is going to continue to come down. So buying depreciated assets, again, is a way to participate in the greatest wealth transference in history, because these major corporations are collapsing, they're closing, their corporate leaders are on a list where they were forced to resign, resignation.info. You'll see all these corporations, CEOs of companies, CEOs of banks that were forced to resign, resignation.info. Look at that. You know about military tribunals that are happening. You also know that many of these gas stations were owned. Oh gosh, you got to look at these articles that they're owned by foreigners. The articles will say something to the extent of how did they put it? The new face of gas stations in America. And we'll talk about how people came from other countries and bought up the gas stations. People from other countries bought up gas stations, restaurants, chains, hotels. There was one article in 2021 that says 60% of the hotel industry was owned by Indians from East India, from Asia, East Indian Asians. A lot of the Indians that are over here, they're bringing home an average of $105,000 per household. They're at the top of the pyramid. Why are they here buying up resources when many of them have come? Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing. I appreciate you, Gina Lee. Why are they buying up hotels and gas stations here and restaurants and subways here when the Indians that are coming from Asia, East India, they're from the top, the high class. They're not, what do you call them? The unmentionables? Is that what they call them?
Dalits.
The Dalits. They're not the Dalits. They're not the dark people. Untouchables. They're not the untouchables. They're not the original Aboriginal origines of India. They're not even the middle class. They're at the top class. So they're not coming here to find opportunities. They're coming here to exploit our wealth and our resources. But now that Donald Trump is coming up with all these and issuing out all these executive orders, subways are closing, gas stations are closing, restaurant chains are closing. They're fleeing back home. And I'm here for it. Highest class of Indians. They already have money. They already have wealth. What are they called? The Brahmins. Many of them are from the Brahmins, the Brahmin class. The highest ranking of the 4 varnas or social classes in Hindu India. They're at the top of their own pyramid, their own social economic strata. There was the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, which were the warrior class and a warrior ruling class, the Vaishyas, which were the artisans, the merchants, and the tradesmen and farmers, and then the Shudras, God, and below that were the Dalits or the untouchables, the black ones, the black people, the original people, treated like crap and like the underclass, just like people were here originally. So this is what the class looked like in India. And hey, that's your business. That's none of my business. But why are the priests and academics the highest class of another country here in America owning the banks, owning the corporations, owning the subways, owning the restaurants, owning the gas stations? Why? Because they don't hire Americans. I don't care if you're black or white. What Michael Jackson said, I don't care if you're black or white. They weren't hiring any Americans. They hired their own people. Then they don't put money in your communities. They just absorb the money and they enrich themselves and send money to their countries. They're closing down the restaurants, the gas stations, the chains, the banks. Ruling classes of people here sucking the resources. You don't see the Dalits, the untouchables, the street sweepers, the cleaners, the toilet cleaners, the ones they won't allow to go up the ranks. But you see the top class here in America. And now you know what's happening in America? Now these people who have come from all over America, and we know some people came here for an opportunity, and we understand that. You know, we're not even upset about that. We get it. But some of them came here unlawfully. That's a crime. But what we see is ruling classes of East Indians here, Middle Easterns, Arabs here owning up and buying up gas stations, real estate and land, and a communist Chinese party here. Now what you see is all these people marching in the streets in various countries, in various cities in America, waving their flags, saying, no human is illegal. No human is unlawful. Don't send us home. We support America. We're helping to make America great again. You're taking the jobs. You're getting the resources. You're absorbing the resources, and you've been given favor. And when you're given favor, you don't even hire Americans. You would even put your companies, your gas stations, your hair places in the so-called black community and treat the Americans, whether black or white, like they're a piece of crap. And you will monitor them and look down on them while they're shopping in your stores to see if they're stealing. But okay, we went along with it. But you didn't even care enough to put money in the community. You didn't create any scholarships. You didn't create any programs. You didn't create any help, any humanitarian programs. You didn't invest back in the communities by buying from the local stores and the restaurants that were in the communities. As a matter of fact, you worked with the police departments, Arabs that own some of these gas stations, to sell drugs in the community. Don't play with me. I know you. To sell some of these gas stations were a front. They don't sell food. They operate in the food desert to get grants and scholarships and loans. What you call them? Those loans with no interest loans. They set up a gas station in the middle of a food desert and put cookies and cakes and chips, which is a real food, funded by the government in the United States Incorporated, And those stores were fronts for pushing drugs in the Black community. That's why you always saw or often saw the gas stations filled with police cars, because they were working hand in hand with each other. And they were pushing out drugs to the drug cartel and the drug pens, whether they were Black, white, or Mexican, and pushing out guns and killing up the people because they were taking advantage of and exploiting America. Well, now they got to go home. How dare you? I'm American. I'm a national. I love being American. How dare you be able to get the resources from our government and our country? First of all, you sold to us and we bought from you, so that we have to take accountability for that. Not invest the money, but now you're demanding that you don't go back home and you're waving your own flag. To me, that's flagrant arrogance. That to me should be treasonous. Do you know what a flag is? A flag is a banner. A flag is a banner whereby the people rally up. It's a rallying cry. You have a rallying cry. It unites the people of a nation together. So you're waving your rallying cry flag banner in the faces of the American people saying, I ain't going home. I don't understand why ICE isn't like saying, okay, I see where you all are. Any of you are illegal, get out of here. Because you're marching on United States territory, the Americans, freedom of speech. Okay, but try being American and go to Ghana or China and wave the American flag and say, I ain't going home, and see if they don't lock your tail up. The arrogance. But these people have to go back home. And although we love everybody, it's America first. It's America first for me. Yeah, this is like a turf war. Gang banging right here in the United States. Shame on you. And then saying you ain't going home. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if you're not going home. How dare you? I'm not afraid to say it. America first. Try going to Ghana and smoking ganja or something on their territory, or doing something that's illegal, smoking outside in public. They will put you in handcuffs. And they're gangsters about their money. The police officers will put you in handcuffs, put you in their car and say, it's not lawful for you to smoke in public, you little American boy. So now call your family back at home in America. That's what they'll do in Ghana. Call your family back home. And then your family be like, hey, hello. Hi. The police will say, yeah, I got your child, your grown child, or your auntie, your uncle. They were smoking cigarettes in public, or they were drinking alcohol with the flask, or whatever their rule is. Or they were parked at Lombardi Beach past sundown. We're holding your child for ransom. How much you gonna pay me? Try doing that. I wish you would be American, waving your flag time out. You ain't putting me in your jail. You ain't calling my mama or my daddy or my family home. They wouldn't give a care. They would give you the ransom price and you will pay it, or your little American tail will be locked up in their jail until only God knows when. But these people have come to America and been outright flagrant and arrogant with what they've done here. Now, though, that they're going home, and I'm not too ashamed to say it. Yes, I love everybody. I'm not one of those. I'm not trying to be politically correct. They're going home, and I'm glad. Why would at least nobody's dropping you in the middle of the desert? Yeah, but you know why some of these countries don't want some of the people back? Of course, they want the ruling class back, but they don't want the criminal element back. They don't want the gangbangers. They don't want the Mexican drug cartel. They don't want the Venezuelan gangbangers. They don't want the MS-13 gangbangers that came on our turf. They don't want those that had fled from China that are part of the Chinese Communist Party, those that are Ukraine. Hello, Cleveland. Ukrainian mafia owns all of downtown Cleveland. Fact check me. Google it now. They will show you. Look up how Downtown Cleveland is owned by Ukrainian mafia, and Louisville, Kentucky had to seize the PNC Bank mall, not just the building, the whole area, because it was owned by the Chinese Communist Party and Ukrainian mafia laundering money through there. Shut them down in 2020. And look up how in 2020, Louisville's airport seized 10,000 automatic weapon parts from China that had flown into Louisville, Kentucky, owned by the Chinese Communist Party. They have committed high treason and criminal activities that are egregious, and it demands or commands that they have to deal with severe consequences. At least President Trump is saying you got to go back home. At least he's saying, get up out of here. Thank you, Sister Sandy. I appreciate you for the Cash App blessing. Okay, but now the good news, family, is now that they're leaving, gas stations, owners, and major corporations, bank, all this banking laundry and stuff like this, and all the drugs that was going on in your community, they're leaving. You'll be able to buy up these depreciated assets. And this is how you'll be able to get in on the greatest wealth transfer in history. So I know we were talking about President Donald Trump and how he signed an executive order to create a sovereign wealth fund. And this fund is going to help to make America great again. But I'm also telling you what you can do. If you have money, if you have fiat, but it's okay if you don't. I know all this sounds like Nasara Jasara. It's okay if you don't. Get gold RM notes for as little as $2.62. Gold RM notes are the notes that are their 0.999 pure gold pressed onto a 14 karat note. No, wait a minute. 0.999, 14 karat gold, and some of them are 0.99, 24 karat gold pressed onto a note that is actually used as legal tender to buy local goods and services in your states. So you can buy gold RM notes for as little as $2.62. If you have it, you can get in, you can move ahead, because as gold increases in value, you know that your gold RM notes that you bought for $2.62 is going to be worth more. And you can get silver, which is like $35, something from somewhere between 30 and 35. It fluctuates. You can get bullion, you can get coins, you can get sterling silver, which is 92% silver. You can get silver that is constitutional silver that they erroneously call junk silver. That's 90% silver. Those are gold. Those are silver minted coins that were minted before 1964, before we came off the gold standard. Real silver, and that's cheaper than the silver bullion in most cases. You can also buy foreign reserves. Okay, the sovereign monetary fund is comprised of foreign reserves, right? As well as bonds, stocks, gold, palladium, rare earth minerals, and all that. Foreign reserve, foreign currency notes. You don't have to get the big $100 trillion Zimbabwean Zim bond note. You can get a lower denomination. You can get agro checks. You can get Indonesian rupiah, a lower denomination. You can get Iraqi dinar. You don't have to get the 25,000 note. Find a lower denomination, or Vietnamese dong note. They have $10,000 notes that are just a few dollars. You can get Iranian rial, Indonesian rupee, Venezuelan currency. Look for the smaller denominations, and don't worry that you don't have a lot. Just get whatever is in your budget, because these depreciating assets were depreciated through and devalued through war and sanctions that the United States government had put on these nations. Well, the United States government has collapsed, and it is happening right in front of our eyes. They're defunct. They are bankrupt and insolvent. And that's what President Donald Trump is doing. He's completely obliterating them. We're waiting for his final executive order and his final word that it has completely collapsed. But you can get on the greatest wealth transference in history by buying those depreciated assets. And then we'll return, because after he dismantles the deep state and completely obliterates them, He'll make an announcement, and that will be the announcement that we've returned to the republic. Our lawful government has been restored. That will be the Nasara announcement. And then that's when we will do our currency exchanges at the banks. But again, I told you the banks met globally last year to make sure they were prepared. Look at my video called Great News for Currency Holders, and you'll see all the information I give you. And I told you I will look for what those foreign reserve notes are. Give me a second. But before I do that, let me show you this notable resignation list, just so you can see for yourself that a lot of people are being forced to step down from their positions as CEOs. Go to resignation.info. Notable resignations worldwide. Here are the resignations, and this list needs to be updated. 14,309 resignations of 13,744 people within about 10,000 organizations in 171 countries. The article says since December 26, 2017, resignations, retirements, firings, and death cases have been tracked. Here are the numbers here, and you'll see, we need to update this because the last one I see is February 16, 2023. You'll see the president of the World Bank. You'll see vice president of the government of South Africa on here. You see the CEO of YouTube, a former CEO who was forced to resign, and she was replaced in 2023. You see Royal Canadian Mounted Police Department, or the commissioner. Let's go down. And here you'll see the defense minister of Germany, and you just keep clicking and you'll see all the forced resignations and the firings that occurred within 171 countries. This is happening for our benefit. So I know people are like, what's taking so long? Why haven't we exchanged? Why hasn't Nasara been announced? Why haven't we all become wealthy? Well, President Trump is creating this wealth fund for us, right? Right now, he just signed an executive order, but we haven't exchanged on our currencies because you still had these nefarious people in power. You have to do a complete, total cleanup of the deep state. And then you have to make an announcement that it's done and then turn the power back over to we the people by restoring the republic. We're almost there. President Trump has been signing executive orders like a madman. A madman is what I say. I mean, just one by one, like he's working like crazy. You know how they say the pen is mightier than the sword? Well, we can see that happening right now. So I showed you the notable. Somebody says, I hope we're not going to wait all year. I know, but we've been enslaved for centuries, maybe for thousands of years as a human species. So I'm just grateful that I get to be alive to experience and see and witness the takedown of these nefarious beings in my lifetime. And I'm excited about meeting the extraterrestrials that are here to help. Oh my God, I am so elated. And just knowing that we're close to the exchange brings me joy every day. And the way I maintain my joy is when I read the news, I look for the good in the news, and I look for good news, and I listen to high vibrational music. For example, yesterday I was listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, Kool and the Gang, the music, Sister Sledge, the music that we grew up on in the 70s and the 80s, because you're mainly the 70s is when because I was born in the 60s, but the 70s, my aunts and uncles would listen to this good music, feel good music, and my dad. And so that's what I do when I work out. That's what I'm doing, when I need my mood uplifted. Or you can just listen to music that have high vibrational frequencies. I also do that. You can listen to it during the day, during the night. Take walks by the beach, take walks in nature, do some deep breathing exercises. Do yoga, Pilates, whatever it takes to keep your frequencies raised. Eat healthily. Drink lots of water, eat lots of high vibrational foods like living foods, raw fruits and vegetables, that will literally raise your vibrational frequencies. It will literally increase your libido, lift your mood, release endorphins, go out and walk, do some running and exercising, and you will continue to release endorphins while you're waiting on the currency exchange. Keep talking to each other, family. Let me find this article. All right, family, let's see. I had turned the mic off while I was looking for this article. Tier 2 capital definitions. Remember, foreign reserves are in this sovereign wealth fund, and I told you all that banks met globally to determine their preparedness and ensure that they were ready to receive tier 2 assets, and which are foreign reserve notes or foreign reserves. This is what tier 2 capital is. It's kind of hard to talk to you about what those tier 2 assets are without showing you the article that said banks met globally. But you have to look at my video because, again, those articles have been scrubbed from the internet. But I show you in the video called Great News for Currency Reserve Holders. The term tier 2 capital refers to one of the components of a bank's required reserves. Tier 2 is designed as the second or supplemental layer of a bank's capital and is composed of items such as revaluation reserves or hybrid instruments and subordinated term debt. It considered less than secure. It's less secure than a tier 1 assets. Tier 1 assets that all banks must have are gold. Banks had to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. They needed to have gold and they need to have tier 2, which is foreign currencies, again, to make sure that they maintain the health of the bank and to stave against inflation and against bankruptcy. Here's the 4 components of the article. I'm just going to read the 4 components, and then I'll leave the article in the description section for you so that you can know foreign reserve tier 2 assets are the same thing, and all banks met to ensure that they're ready for your assets and for the currency exchange. Tier 2 capital is the second layer of a capital that a bank must keep as a part of its required reserves. Secondly, the tier is comprised of revaluation reserves. Revaluation reserves are your foreign currencies, right? We've been talking about a revaluation. General provision, subordinated term debt, and a hybrid capital instrument. Thirdly, there are 2 levels of tier 2 capital, upper level and lower level, and the article would talk about that. And then tier 2 capital is subordinate to tier 1 capital and is considered riskier and is more difficult to calculate if a bank needs to liquidate. So the article will show you explicitly how tier 2 assets or foreign reserves are your foreign currencies. Family, I just want to encourage you. Was I frozen again? Oh my gosh. I just want to encourage you, family, that things are happening and they are moving on our behalf. I think that's about it. So now I'm looking at the article. I'm going to the link that I had where Trump asked, should we end the IRS? But it's not showing me his tweet. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was released. Let's see. I don't know if it was taken down. In the meantime, let me show you something that I just saw on Twitter as it relates to your foreign currencies or your foreign assets. We are ordering drinks. I want one on the rocks, not frozen. I hear you, Joe. Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing. You guys are so generous. God bless you. Heaven smile on you is my prayer. I appreciate you. Look at what I just saw on Twitter. This is tweeted out or has been tweeted out by Dinar Revolution. It says CBI warp speed moves. IQD must RV. A joint statement was issued out by the office of the Prime Minister and Prime Minister of the Central Bank of Iraq. It looks like they're saying banking reforms constitute an important pillar of the economic reform adopted in the government program. In order to complete the important steps that the government has started in this framework since it began its work, and in order to achieve a package of development targets that require banking development, the government, in cooperation with the Central Bank of Iraq, has embarked on a comprehensive initiative that includes a comprehensive strategic banking reform process that constitutes a turning point in the history of economic developments in Iraq. And it's consistent with the extent of commitment to raising the level of banking standards. So they're raising banking standards, they're enhancing financial flexibility, and they're supporting the competitiveness of their financial system. These comprehensive reforms aim to keep pace with developments in the countries of the region and of the world, and contribute to opening partnerships and prospects for communication with the outside world on a broad scale in modern banking and financial transactions, as the Central Bank of Iraq works to implement and develop regulatory and supervisory frameworks with international partners, which contributes to achieving sustainable growth and development in the banking sector. These reforms are focused on these components: strengthening ownership structures and governance frameworks, and they're doing it by enhancing transparency and accountability through measures, including the creation of diverse ownership structures. Secondly, they're raising the level and standards of services by increasing access to basic financial services for all members of the Iraqi people through enhancing efficiency, increasing the supply of products, and modernizing the infrastructure of the banking sector. Three, the harmonization and conformity with international standards are done so by imposing adherence to recognized frameworks and practices in the areas of combating money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. Fourthly, they're enhancing financial flexibility by enhancing the financial safety of Iraqi banks and setting strong requirements regarding capital and cash liquidity. And this is done to protect the customers' deposits and to protect the economy in the face of local and international challenges. This initiative comes within the framework of a broader strategy that's aimed at modernizing their banking sector in Iraq, which the Central Bank of Iraq is currently developing in partnership with Oliver Wyman, who is a leading global management consulting firm. And it gives a little more information, and you can see that people are saying that these reforms are very serious reforms and that a rate adjustment or revaluation must be inevitable or coming very soon. This Dinar Revolution, a commenter said, is amazing. Where'd you find this? And is it recent? I actually have that article. I remember reading that and reporting on that. So I'll find that article for you guys and put it in the description section. So much is happening. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited, family. Again, precious metals are on the rise because as the dollar decreases in value, gold and silver increase in value. It's a basic economic principle. So you will see that the BRICS nation that has coalesced against United States Incorporated is growing stronger and stronger. But in the meantime, America is taking steps to move back towards sound money. And this is why 46 states in America have reclaimed silver and gold as money. And the way that they did this is by creating reforms. And these reforms are eliminating state taxes on precious metal sales, So they have eliminated some or all taxes on precious metals. And the reason why they did this is because the Constitution states that you may not tax money. That's unconstitutional. It's unlawful. But the Federal Reserve allowed that to happen because they are nefarious. They're not lawful. So they classified gold when they were leading the world and when they were the elite class running everything, as classified gold as a commodity or as a collectible instead of as money. And they put us on a fiat debt-based system using their SWIFT monetary system as well. But all that's being dismantled. And it all started out, at least in our current history that we know about, with Vladimir Putin going to Ukraine. He was the catalyst. This was a secret agreement actually between 209 nations to, when triggered, drop the dollar and use their own global currency or local currencies for trade. That trigger was Vladimir Putin going to Ukraine. And we know he was the catalyst or the trigger because once he went to Ukraine, he exposed all of the Biden crime family activities and all of the other president's activities. He uncovered all of the Wuhan type labs that had created these diseases that shut down the world. He uncovered all the money laundering, all the trafficking of Ildren Trey, who's speaking in pig Latin, the trafficking of Dre, all of that. And then Biden put sanctions on him and said nobody could do business. We would no longer do business with the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin clapped back against those sanctions by dropping the dollar for trade and saying, I don't need your money anyway. I don't need your dollar. You can put sanctions on me. I'll use my own currency, the Russian ruble. And that occurred in 2022. That is when the Russian ruble became the strongest performing currency in the world. And then Vladimir Putin said, you know what? I have my own military. I have allies. I stopped trading with the dollar. Now I'm going to inspire all the BRICS nations to do so. I'm the president of Russia. So then he inspired Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to follow his lead. And they all stopped trading with the dollar. That was a huge thing to inspire them to stop trading with the dollar and to completely drop the dollar. It was, of course, it was a secret agreement that we now know is called Project Salmon, which I've known about for many years and I've been talking about it. But it was monumental because that completely decimated the value of the dollar, not just the monetary value, but the value of the dollar in people's eyes. Now you have 5 nations that said, I'm going to stop trading with the dollar. Russia's going to back us up militarily. It was important because the dollar, the fiat, the greenback was attached to the United States Incorporated in their Federal Reserve central banking system. Now with them, these 5 nations refusing to trade with the dollar lost its hegemony. Now the United States Incorporated lost financial and economic hegemony. They were no longer the world leader. Because what made the dollar the world reserve currency was our agreement with Saudi Arabia to protect the Saudi empire in exchange for their oil. And then we would force all exporting nations to get oil from Saudi Arabia using the United States dollar. And if they used their currency, it had to be backed or pegged to the United States dollar. So again, we protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for the oil, and all exporting nations have to get oil from Saudi Arabia, and they have to use the dollar. Well, once Vladimir Putin stopped trading with the dollar, and Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa stopped trading with the dollar too, then the United States dollar started losing its value as being the world reserve currency. And then Saudi Arabia joined BRICS secretly in about 2022. Mainstream media didn't report it. I reported, and I brought the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company onto the podcast to confirm and affirm that this had indeed happened, and he did in 2022. I got the videos to prove it. I could put them up, but I know you guys get mad when I put up old videos, but I'll put it up in the description section. I'll say this is a repost just so you can know it. Okay, when Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coalition in 2022, They then became known as Sal BRICS, and that totally changed the landscape as it relates to the United States dollar and how people viewed the dollar. And the United States incorporated in their central banking system, the Federal Reserve, lost financial and economic hegemony. They no longer were the powerhouse, the world leader. That sealed their collapse. The United States incorporated, not the republic, not our government, okay? And then more nations started joining in 2022, all the way up to 2023, now into 2025, so that all exporting nations, almost all of them, if not all of them, had joined BRICS, or they joined the Shanghai Corporation. Those are the Asian conglomerate of nations. So you have BRICS plus, and you have the Shanghai Corporation. This is the East coalescing, not against America, coalescing against the United States Incorporated and their Federal Reserve central banking system and the dollar. So the dollar has lost lots of its value, which is why silver and gold are both increasing. This is good news for us because, again, behind the scenes, you have state legislators that have said we rejected central bank digital currencies from the central bank. When we will not receive those, they cannot come into our state. You cannot bring your centralized currencies, your digital centralized currency into our states because according to the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, state governments or state communities have more power than the federal government. So state legislators are taking upon themselves to say, we rejecting central bank digital currencies and we are taking away taxes from the sales of precious metals. And this is why the Sound Money Defense League came up with the article that said 46 states have reclaimed silver and gold as money. They are operating in their sovereignty. Additionally, the Supreme Court of the United States last summer ruled that state-sponsored banks can operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system, okay? And they can issue out their own gold-backed currency. If you want to see things move along faster, you want to see you want to see all merchants accept gold and silver, then you can operate right now at your local and state level to put pressure on the lawmakers to force these merchants to recognize silver and gold. Some of them will because they know silver and gold is lawful money, but the lawmakers can make this go into action in your state faster. You have power, more power than you think. So people are like, I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of seeing, I'm just ready to get my currency exchange. I'm ready for gold to be recognized. I'm ready for all this to end. You can operate right now. Pressure your local lawmakers. Operate in your city. Operate in your states because states are sovereign. All states are actually countries in America. That's why they have their own flag. They have their own laws, their own lawmakers, their own symbols. Some of them have their own anthems. You can force your lawmakers to force merchants to recognize silver and gold right now so that you can start using it faster because it's happening behind the scenes, but we have power. We're sovereign. If we just start operating in it, we will see things manifest a little quicker. So all these things are happening, family, for the good of the human family. All things are working out for our good. Just stay encouraged. Alaska loves gold. Should you file your taxes? I'm not. I haven't in a long time, but I really wish I can find. You guys heard though Donald Trump saying he was getting rid of the IRS and implementing the External Revenue Service. So it's happening. And lawmakers have already put bills on the table to eliminate the IRS, to abolish the IRS. Let me see if I can find Trump's tweet to end IRS. Let's see if I can find it, because that would be so powerful. Oh, Trump cease and desist to the IRS. I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, let me show you guys this. That's if what I told my family is that paying taxes is actually voluntary. You can ask for an extension. You can write a letter and tell them you are experiencing financial hardship. So ask them to forgive the debt and keep filing the extension until the IRS is completely done away with. My daughter had called the IRS about a pressing matter, and I told her to ask the agent if indeed it were true that they were absorbed by the United States Treasury Department. And the agent said yes. She said, that's why we're not answering the phones, is we don't have a lot of people. She said that the United States Treasury Department deals with all the money. She said, that's why we can't answer your questions. We don't deal with money. That time for that is over. Ask for an extension, family, but this is just what I told my family to do. Also, if you can't pay or it's not in your budget to pay your car note, call the so-called lender, because we know we're really the creditor, but call the so-called lender and tell them that you'd like to have an extension, or that you would like to put off your payment. So I'd like to have an extension on paying my car note, or or however you put it, or I don't have the money to pay. What are my options? Because what I'm seeing now, and they've been doing this, a lot of people just didn't know it, but what they're now you don't even have to ask usually. Now, if it looks like you're about to be late, now they're sending you a text and say, hey, we have extension options. They're texting people, they're calling people, they're giving you email. But it's always been the case that if you cannot afford your car payment, then you can call that lender or that bank and tell them that you're experiencing economic hardship or loss of income, sick or whatever. And then they'll give you an extension. And what they'll do is they will put that payment that you owe onto the end of your loan, so that you don't have to pay it for that month at least. I'm just trying to give you different ways to finesse the system until everything turns over. Let me show you what's going on with the IRS, family. Somebody says, thank you for your teachings. I got a couple gold backs. They will be shipped to me February the 14th. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you, Penny. You're welcome. That's your Valentine gifts to yourself. So let's see what's going on with the IRS in the news. What I did is I Googled or typed in Trump tweets to end the IRS. And you'll see he calls for the end of the income taxes. He replaced the IRS with tariffs, or could he replace it? Bessent easily confirmed as the Treasury Secretary. Now let's look at the Trump cease and desist, see what that says. President Trump's cease and desist to the IRS protects the middle-class families and small businesses from IRS audits and weaponization. This came out January 23rd. Trump is answering America's fears of supercharged Internal Revenue Services, or IRS, with an executive order halting the hiring of federal employees until the administration determines that it's in the nation's best interest to do so. This includes curtailing the onboarding of tens of thousands of new IRS agents called on by the Democrats in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And supporting President Trump's order, the Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith issued the following statement. President Trump's cease and desist order to the IRS is a crucial first step to helping the middle-class American and small businesses living in fear of 87,000 new IRS agents that were targeting them with new audits and monitoring their personal transactions. And okay, so I know that was the cease and desist to hire new agents. We remember when they said that they were hiring 87,000 new agents who were given a charge to be able to shoot anybody who didn't pay the IRS. Remember that? That was 2 years ago. Let's see what else we see in this article. Trump abolishment of IRS. This was 6 days ago. Oh, his abolishment of the federal income tax brings the United States back to the richest period in history. He said we had a no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. And as I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens, Trump said during his conference address in Doral, Florida on Monday. Whoop. Hope you could you all, oh, you guys didn't see that. Let me put it up for you. I apologize. Let me show you what the beginning of that article looks like. Here it is. Trump proposes abolishment of federal income tax, bringing U.S. back to the richest period in history. So it looks like Trump we know he's going to be successful. This man is not playing with these people. And there was one more about income taxes. Trump does the unthinkable. Officials call for an end to income taxes. He may be the first president of the United States in history to do so. Oh, he's on the road. See if I can get rid of these. I was trying to get rid of those advertisements. I'll show you that, family. So, family, we're going to be wealthy again as a nation, as individuals, and as families. So keep your vibrations high, family. See, here's the article. He does the unthinkable, officially calls for an end to income taxes, and he may be the first president to do so. See that right there? Maybe the first president in history. So that wraps up my dissertation for the day. Let me see what questions you guys have or what comments you have. And then we'll get off right before 2 o'clock. I mean, right before, would it be 2 o'clock? No, right before 2:30. It's right before we make the 2-hour mark. Removing fluoride from the water is something that he's signing. Yes, Jay, good things come to those that wait. I know we're tired of waiting, family. I do. If we can just be patient, hold on. And if you can't be patient, let's work at the state level to get some of these changes cracking. Grand rising to you as well. Yes, I remember the feel good music. I love it. March 10th is a notable date. IH2 says, IH2 Consultants, thank you. March 4th is the lawful inauguration for the Republic. And then IH2 says March 10th is good. Don says, good, feel good music raises our vibrational frequencies. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Oh, yeah, they were spraying the skies. Martin says it's a great show. Thank you. I was kind of concerned because I kept leaving the stream and losing my articles. It was wow. You listen to Bob Marley to raise your vibrational frequencies, Chief says. Chief Faya says. Basic Lay says, I was remodeling the bathroom hearing this. She was cracking me up. It went from 75 to 40 in less than 12 hours where you are, CJ. Wow. Let me see. Family, did I recognize you all that gave me a Cash App over the weekend? Cash App? I don't think I did. So I'll do that. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy Collins, Pamela Hexel. Thank you, Gino Lee. God bless you, Cameron Frederick. I appreciate you. Audrea, thank you so much. Renee Williams, thank you. Julie Davis, Peter Kirksey, Jamie Conrad, Priya, thank you so much for the gift and the monetary gifts and blessings. Brian Ashby, Theo Walford, Sister Natasha, I appreciate you. HBKJK or HBJLK, Sister Bridget, Sister Deb Hill, Ernest Cooks, Michael George, and Kirby Troy, as well as Herchandra Logan. Thank you so much for the Cash App gift, the monetary blessing. Oh, that's Gold Star Mother Susan Price. She told me to call her. Something must be up. What's a good website to buy the Go RM notes? Just type it in. You have many Go online companies like SD Boyan, JM Boyan. Let's see. Who else? moneymetals.com, greatamericancurrency.com. There are many online currency dealers or many online gold companies from which to buy them. You saw the article? What about credit unions? Any ones that remaining have to be Basel III compliant under NASARA. So wait till NASARA is announced, or wait till Trump announces that the deep state has been demolished and we're returning to our republic. And then we know that it's time for those exchanges. And we will then make sure that any banks or wealth management centers or credit unions that we go to are Basel compliant. But any that are standing should be compliant. Trump is trying to breed a self-reliant economy. I agree. The monster food chains and their monster food chain tactics used to leave the weak behind, which was the old American way, but no bueno, that wasn't good. Yeah. Those big chains, they were so big and that little mom and pop shops and restaurants couldn't compete with them. You know, you have Walmart that has everything, a barbershop, a nail salon, tire shop, car maintenance place, food, clothes, housing supplies, miscellaneous, everything, toys for the kids. So now your local tailor, a dressmaker, a person that's making clothes is out of business. The local nail salons, they are competing with these big places. And now that they have monopolies, they can lower their prices. So now, you know, it's hard for Cindy down the street to be able to even afford to keep her hair salon open because she's competing with Walmart. Excuse me. Your little motel owner, I don't want to call it little, your motel owner might have been owned by your uncle or Mr. Johnson down the street or an insurance person that works in your community. Now he has to compete with these big chains of hotel owners. All that's coming to an end. Oh, it was on Trump's Truth Social. Thank you. Let's see what President Trump said. The one where he was asking about the income tax. Let me see if I can find him. Trump. People are okay. People are texting me and calling me. Who was this? Informed that Tiger Woods' wonderful mom passed away. Oh no, send prayers to Tiger Woods' mom. I'm trying to see if he said anything about income taxes on his Truth Social. We'll have to look for it and then put it in the description section for you all. I wanted to see if I can find it quickly and bring it up before we left or closed for the day. Anything else needs to be brought to our attention, family? Rumble's back on, Sister Inez. I'm back on Rumble. Thank God. Whew. Okay, family. I don't think, did Trump make a statement that the Bahamas will be the 53rd state? I don't know. I hadn't heard that. I'll look it up. You're welcome, Sister Penny. It's my great pleasure to bring any information that I find to the Soul family. So family, stay encouraged. Keep your vibrations high. I love you all so much. Thank you, Sister Karima. Is that Sister Karima? Thank you, Karima, for saying we love you. I appreciate you and I love you too. Jeffrey said he's hiding his Bolivar, waiting patiently. I haven't followed the Freedom Freedom Fighter, but I will. Since you suggest that. So that's it, family. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention, your comments in the comment section, the extra intel information you were dropping in the chat. I thank you for the Cash App blessing and monetary support. For all of you who have been asking, my Cash App is $ Mama Kia 13. That's $ MAMAKIA 13. I am so excited that we have all together work to bring in the golden era, and we're going to experience tremendous wealth, family. President Donald Trump, the Grand Army of the Republic, the Galactics, Earth Alliance, and we are ushering in joy, peace, love, truth, freedom, and justice. Having said that, family, things are changing for our good. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Go make this a great day. Mwah. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.